Have you ever noticed how some folks in their late 60s, 70s, even into their 80s seem to glide through life with more energy than people half their age? You see them out gardening at 7 a.m., walking 3 miles before breakfast, or dancing at their granddaughter's wedding with better rhythm than the DJ. And you wonder, what on earth are they doing that the rest of us aren't? Now let's set the record straight. It's not just money. Sure, wealth can afford you a few extra comforts, but money alone doesn't explain why some retirees are bursting with vitality while others are struggling to make it to lunch without a nap. A neighbor of mine, Howard, 72 years old, drives a classic Buick, mows his own lawn, golfs twice a week, and still volunteers at the library. He's got the kind of spark most of us wouldn't mind bottling. So, what's his secret? I asked his wife once, lovely woman named Denise, and she gave me that knowing look over her glasses and said he takes that vitamin every night, like clockwork. Now, you and I both know that every decade brings a new wave of miracle supplements. Fish oil in the 90s, green tea in the 2000s, and don't even get me started on that collagen craze. My cousin tried that stuff and ended up with a pantry full of expensive powder that tasted like ground-up cardboard. But this vitamin isn't the latest Instagram trend. In fact, it's probably sitting in your medicine cabinet already, quietly overlooked while we chase the next big thing. And yet, more and more folks over 65, especially those who seem to age like fine wine, are taking it regularly. Not because a celebrity endorsed it, but because it works. It supports better sleep, calms the nerves, helps with digestion, and even boosts muscle recovery. And no, it's not some rare herb from the Amazon jungle or an injection you have to fly to Switzerland for. It's simple, it's affordable, and it's backed by real science, not flashy commercials. The funny thing is, our parents used to talk about it. But like many good things, it quietly fell out of fashion, kind of like manners and landlines. And yet, here it is, making a quiet comeback among the silver-haired elite. That's the thing about getting older. We've seen enough fads come and go to know when something has real staying power. We're not easily dazzled anymore. So when people who've been around the block more than once start swearing by the same nightly routine, it's worth paying attention, especially when that routine involves something that could help you wake up with more energy, move with less pain, and finally stop staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering why your body still thinks it's 1982. Now, before you go running to the drugstore, hang on. We're going to get into exactly what this vitamin is, why it works, and how to take it the right way. Because yes, even something as simple as a vitamin can backfire if it's taken at the wrong time, in the wrong form, or alongside the wrong foods. Just ask my buddy Sal. He thought taking it in the morning would give him a boost all day. Instead, he spent half the afternoon napping in his recliner and missed his bingo night. Trust me, there's a method to this madness, and understanding it could make all the difference. So let's dive into what makes this vitamin so powerful for folks over 65, and why you might want to consider adding it to your own nightly routine, especially if you're tired of being tired. Now let's talk about what this vitamin actually is and why it's quietly become the go-to nightly ritual for so many energetic retirees. The vitamin in question? Magnesium. That's right. Not some exotic name with 10 syllables, not something you need a prescription or a private health coach to find. Just plain old magnesium, the same mineral your doctor probably mentioned back in the day when you said your legs were cramping or your sleep was shot. But here's what most people don't realize. Magnesium isn't just a sidekick in your multivitamin. For people over 65 especially, it plays a central role in keeping things running smoothly. We're talking muscle function, nerve communication, bone strength, and perhaps most importantly, sleep. And not just any sleep, but that deep, restorative kind that leaves you feeling like you actually slept, instead of waking up wondering if you spent the night wrestling a raccoon. You see, as we age, our bodies become less efficient at absorbing and storing magnesium. Even with a decent diet, it's easy to come up short. A friend of mine, Carmen, 72, retired school teacher, sharp as a tack, was complaining for months about fatigue, restless legs, and waking up more times than a new parent. She tried cutting back on caffeine, switching pillows, even those lavenders, pillow sprays that are supposed to be so relaxing. Nothing helped. Her doctor finally suggested a simple magnesium-glycinate supplement taken before bed. Within 2 weeks, Carmen was back to her old self. She even started playing piano again in the afternoons, something she hadn't done in years. She said, "It's like someone turned the lights back on." And before you roll your eyes and think, "Okay, great for Carmen, but it can't be that easy," remember this: sometimes the simplest fixes are the most effective, especially when you've been unknowingly operating with a deficiency for years. The thing is, magnesium doesn't just help with sleep. It also eases anxiety, supports heart rhythm, and helps regulate blood sugar levels, issues that become more common as we collect more candles on our birthday cakes. Rich folks have known this for a while, not because they have better doctors, necessarily, but because they often have access to personalized wellness testing that flags low magnesium early. That means while most people are tossing and turning or dealing with those annoying muscle spasms in their calves, they're already taking steps to fix the root cause. And let's be honest, when someone with silver hair and a golf swing like Arnold Palmer says they sleep like a baby and have energy to spare, it tends to make you listen a little closer. The great part is, you don't need $1 million bank account or a team of nutritionists to get the same benefits, just the right kind of magnesium taken the right way can make a world of difference. But here's the kicker: not all magnesium is created equal. There are different forms, and picking the wrong one can leave you running to the bathroom or scratching your head, wondering why you feel no different. My neighbor Roy made that mistake. He grabbed the first bottle he saw on sale at the pharmacy, took it after dinner, and spent the next day complaining about his stomach more than his energy. What you want is magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate. Gentle on the gut, effective for calming the nervous system, and ideal for nighttime use. And timing matters too. Taken about an hour before bed, it allows your body to gradually wind down without that groggy, medicated feeling some sleep aids cause. It's like dimming the lights in your brain instead of flipping them off with a thud. And let's face it, at this age, we're not looking for gimmicks. We're looking for solutions that work with our bodies, not against them. That's why magnesium has become the quiet star of so many nightly routines among the wealthy, the well-informed, and increasingly the wise. And as we move forward, we'll dig into exactly how to choose the right supplement, avoid the common mistakes, and why something so simple could be the key to restoring that zest for life that's been slowly slipping through the cracks. Because sometimes the secret to feeling 20 years younger isn't in some fancy spa or high-tech device. It's in a tiny mineral you've probably been overlooking for decades. Now here's where things get interesting, because it's not just what kind of magnesium you take, but how you build it into your routine that makes the real difference. And believe me, this is where so many people, even smart ones, fumble the ball. Take my friend Eli, for example. Vietnam vet, former mechanic, built like a tank even at 76. He started taking magnesium threonate because he heard it helps with memory and focus. And it does. But he was washing it down with a big cup of coffee in the evening. No surprise, it didn't help much. Once he made a few small adjustments, swapped the coffee for chamomile tea, took the supplement an hour before bed, and cut down on screen time before sleep, he started waking up feeling clear-headed for the first time in years. The guy even started organizing his workshop again, which hadn't seen order since the Reagan administration. Now, I get it. Some of this might sound like common sense, but sometimes the basics are what get buried under all the noise out there. And let's be honest, we've all spent money on things that promised the moon and delivered a dented lawn chair. So if you're finding this kind of information helpful, if it's sparking that aha moment like it did for Eli, now might be a good time to join our little circle. Hit that subscribe button below, because every week we dig into the stuff that actually makes a difference in our day-to-day lives. Not fads, not fluff, just real advice backed by experience and served up with a healthy dose of common sense. And community spirit. It's like a weekly coffee chat with people who actually get what you're going through, minus the caffeine jitters. Plus, subscribing means you won't miss future videos where we dive into how magnesium affects blood pressure, how it interacts with medications you might already be taking, and which food sources can help you maintain your levels naturally. It's more than just clicking a button, it's joining a group of folks who believe the best years aren't behind us, they're just finally running on the right fuel. And speaking of fuel, another thing most people don't realize is how magnesium can improve digestion. See, as we age, our digestive system tends to get a little sluggish, like that old washing machine that makes more noise than it cleans. Magnesium helps smooth things out, literally and figuratively. It relaxes the muscles in your gut, supports enzyme activity, and even helps with nutrient absorption. That means not only do you feel less bloated and more regular, which, let's see face it, is a topic we're finally old enough to talk about out loud, but you also get more out of the food you're already eating. And when your body's absorbing nutrients better, your energy goes up, your mood improves, and suddenly that afternoon walk feels more like a pleasure than a chore. A friend of mine named Loretta, widow, 68, proud owner of the most stubborn dachshund on the planet, used to skip breakfast because it just sat there. Since adding magnesium at night, she says her mornings feel lighter, and her walks with Oscar are now twice as long and half as cranky. She told me she even laughed during a sitcom the other day, first time in months. These are the kinds of little changes that add up, because when we talk about energy in your 60s and 70s, we're not talking about running marathons. We're talking about waking up without groaning, moving through your day without that cement in your shoes feeling, and maybe even rediscovering some old hobbies that once brought you joy. And if that starts with a little mineral and a little know-how, well, I'd say that's a pretty good trade. But before you go switching up your routine, there's still more to cover, like how certain medications can deplete magnesium levels without warning, or how stress, of all things, can drain your reserves faster than a 2-hour phone call with customer service. So stick around, because understanding why your body's running on empty might just be the key to finally filling your tank again. Now let's tackle something crucial, because while magnesium might sound like the simple answer to a lot of modern aging frustrations, there are still a few caveats that smart folks over 65 absolutely need to be aware of. See, one of the more ironic things about aging is that the very medications we rely on to keep us ticking can quietly chip away at our magnesium levels without us even realizing it. Take common prescriptions like diuretics, used for high blood pressure, or proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux, both of which are staples in many bathroom cabinets these days. These can cause your body to flush magnesium right out, leaving you wondering why you're suddenly more fatigued, achy, or anxious despite doing everything right. A friend of mine, Annika, 71, retired nurse, sharp as a scalpel, was dealing with just that. She'd been taking meds for years to manage her blood pressure and heartburn, but the last 6 months, she started feeling scattered and sore all the time. It wasn't until her doctor finally tested her magnesium levels, at her insistence, mind you, that they discovered she was scraping the bottom of the barrel. Once she started supplementing properly, the fog began to lift. She said, "I thought I was just getting old. Turns out I was just getting low." And that right there is the kind of thing that frustrates so many of us. We're told aging comes with certain trade-offs. But what if some of those so-called inevitabilities aren't really so inevitable after all? What if that creeping sense of fatigue, the stiffness in the joints, the irritability that sneaks up in the evenings? What if some of that is simply our bodies asking for something they've quietly run out of? Of course, this doesn't mean magnesium is a cure-all. You won't take a capsule tonight and wake up bench-pressing Buicks tomorrow. But what it can do is support the systems that are already trying to work in your favor, and that makes everything else you're doing more. Effective. If you're exercising, magnesium helps your muscles recover faster. If you're eating well, magnesium helps you absorb more nutrients. If you're managing stress, which, let's face it, even in retirement hasn't exactly disappeared, magnesium helps buffer your nervous system so the little things don't feel like big things. But here's another wrinkle most folks don't hear about. Stress doesn't just burn through your patience, it also burns through your magnesium supply. The more stress you feel, the more magnesium your body uses. And unfortunately, it works like a cruel little loop. The lower your magnesium, the harder it is to handle stress, and the more stressed you feel, the faster you lose what little magnesium you had left. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with a hole in the bottom. That's why people who live in high-stress households or are caring for a spouse, adult children, or even grandkids full-time often feel chronically wiped out, no matter how many naps they sneak in. They're not just tired from responsibility, they're chemically depleted. Now, this doesn't mean you need to memorize a textbook or become a walking encyclopedia of minerals. It just means being aware, looking at your daily routine with a little more curiosity and asking yourself, could this missing piece be what's holding me back? And maybe even more importantly, what would my days look like if I got that piece back? Would the stairs feel less daunting? Would my moods feel a little more even? Would I stop forgetting where I left my glasses only to find them in the fridge next to the mustard again? There's something quietly powerful about taking control of one small thing and watching the ripple effect spread through the rest of your life. And that's the beauty of magnesium. It doesn't shout, it doesn't sizzle, it just supports, steadily, gently, like a good friend who shows up when you're not at your best. And while we're being honest, doesn't that sound a whole lot better than the fifth energy drink your grandson swears by, or those expensive biohacking gadgets that require a smartphone app just to turn them on? There's nothing flashy about magnesium, but when taken right, it's one of those unassuming tools that can quietly give you back a part of yourself you thought was gone. And that's not just good health, that's good news. So stay with me, because in this last part, we'll bring it all together with some inspiring stories, the most effective ways to build this habit into your life starting tonight, and why this one small step might be your biggest yet. So let's bring it all home now, because by this point, you've probably heard enough to realize that magnesium isn't just some footnote in a dusty health book. It's a quiet powerhouse, especially for folks over 65 who've already earned the right to feel their best, not just get by. What's remarkable is how many people have rediscovered that spark just by tuning into their body's signals and giving it what it's been quietly asking for all along. I've seen it with Dolores, 73, who used to cancel her morning water aerobics half the time because her legs felt like bricks. A few weeks after she started taking magnesium glycinate before bed, she told our group at the senior center, "I finally feel like I can show up for my own life again." Then there's Gerald, 69, former jazz drummer who hadn't played a single beat in nearly 5 years. His issue wasn't arthritis or injury, it was exhaustion, mentally and physically. After tweaking his evening routine and getting his magnesium levels up, he surprised everyone at the community potluck by jumping in with the band and playing like he never missed a step. One of the younger folks asked him how he got his energy back. Gerald just laughed and said, "Turns out I was low on groove and magnesium." These aren't fairy tales. These are ordinary people just like you, who decided they were tired of being tired. They didn't buy into the idea that slowing down had to mean giving up. They looked around, got curious, and found something that worked. And now it's your turn. If anything in this video made you pause and think, "That sounds like me," then maybe it's time to try adding this one small step into your nightly routine. Start simple. Choose the right kind, magnesium glycinate or threonate. If your main goal is sleep, calm, and clarity, take it consistently about an hour before bed and notice what shifts. Maybe you fall asleep faster. Maybe your mornings feel easier. Maybe you stop snapping at the toaster when it burns the bread. And if you've already tried magnesium but didn't feel a difference, don't give up just yet. Go back and look at the type, the timing, the dosage. Because, like with most things, in life the details matter. And here's the thing, feeling good shouldn't be a luxury reserved for the wealthy or the lucky. It should be a birthright for anyone who's made it this far in life with a few laugh lines and a whole lot of stories. So if you found this helpful, do yourself a favor. Click that subscribe button. It's not just about algorithms and thumbs ups. It's about joining a growing community of people who believe that life after 60 can still be vibrant, connected, and full of surprising second winds. We've got more videos coming up on how to support bone health naturally, which supplements play nicely with your prescriptions, and even how to simplify meal planning so you're not stuck in the what's for dinner loop every night. So don't miss out. And while you're here, leave a comment. What's one thing you wish you'd learned about health 10 years ago? Or maybe you've got a story like Gerald or Dolores, something that made you feel like your old self again. Share it. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Give this video a like if you found even one useful tip, and know that every time you engage, it helps more people like us find content that actually speaks to where we are in life. Because, let's be honest, we've earned the right to scroll past the noise and get to the good stuff. So here's to feeling good, thinking clearly, and waking up ready. Not to run marathons, but to enjoy the life we've built with fewer aches and a little more zing in our step. You deserve that. We all do. Thanks for watching, and until next time, rest well, stay curious, and remember, it's never too late to feel just a little more like you again.